What is going on, beautiful people of the world? It's Friday, and I'm Kerri Lewis, one of your hosts for our amazing show for no particular reason, alongside my amazing co-host, Yanko. And we are here every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, to hopefully inspire, encourage, make you laugh, sometimes maybe feel perplexed about all the things going on in our crazy world. So what's going on, Yanko?
Not much. Just getting in the mood and getting to start moving. The day starts. I had a kind of busy week last week, and this week it's been kind of busy, and I kind of need to sit down and step back and kind of relax and let things happen. And
Stand back in the middle of my room. I love Stevie Nicks. You said step back, and that immediately triggered her song. So, anyway, I do not own the copyrights to that song, guys, because if I don't say that, somebody's going to come at my neck and I'm going to laugh because it's really not that deep, but whatever. Anyway, it's interesting you say that you recognize that you've been going, and you need to pause. A bulk of the people that I work with are doers. They have an issue, and their idea or belief about handling that issue is to do more, to add more, to and I fundamentally know that that is a response created from force. Like we're trying to go against flow actually by making things work the way we think they need to work, be, right? And so I work a lot around my own disciplines and with clients to build in practices that cause them to pause, right? To like be still. Because when we can stop, right? And kind of tap into our internal like stillness, our quietness, we're then able to respond rather than react. So we cultivate this idea, like we just know the thing we need to do rather than feel like we have to force it. So I love that you recognize that you're being called to like come back.
well, you have to. I mean, you can distract yourself. If you're working on yourself, you can keep distracting yourself with other things to kind of neglect what needs to be taken care of. That's how I understand it. It comes up, you feel it, but you kind of like, it's not time yet. Let me get myself moving with whatever I need to get moving because that worked in the past. It might work now too.
Yeah. Well, I
um,
mean, but I think that's the inherent lie we tell ourselves, right? And I mean, I remember
mhm.
knowing I needed to pause hundreds of times within my work when I worked for Starbucks, when I worked for Nordstrom, and not listening. And then that's where this is the thing, the universe is going to sit your ass down. Like, if you continue to ignore that pull to pause, that pull to, be quiet and still, the universe will force you to through making something happen. And I'll give you a really good example. Starbucks, right? I was going. I would not listen to the universe's call to pause. I was a stressed out mess. I was miserable. I wasn't present with my kids. Like it was a whole thing. And then I was in a major car accident. And so that's why I encourage people. I'm like, at the end of the day, you will be forced to pause, whether or not you know it. And then here's the other thing, when we're forced to pause, we create one of two narratives. One, we're aware enough to be like, oh, that's the universe. I didn't listen. Now I got to listen. I get it. Thank you. Or what happens more often than not, we feel victimized. Oh my God, it's so unfair. This happened to me. I can't believe this happened to me. It's what that. And then we suffer even further, causing ourselves to do more, which then builds up, and then we're sat back down, and then we create this story around us being victimized by life.
Well, the key is the story, and you said
A
it
hundred
correct.
percent.
Story, the story, it's the key because the stories are making us suffer more because we're creating those stories in our minds, and because we're making logical conclusion. Because of this might have happened, and instead of actually seeing what it is, we create those stories, and that's what happened. And then we have dukkha, we have suffering.
But I think, it's interesting because I think I was just listening to scripture, and normally, like, I don't generally vibe. I don't align a ton with the Bible, but there's passages that I mess with, and I was listening to it, and I think that in order to experience the crown, you must bear the cross. Like, we're meant to suffer to help us grow further. We're meant to suffer from that story to recognize we're creating a story to then transcend the story.
Yep. Well, I think, and this is my personal understanding, with working with people, taking people onto back, past life stories and things like that. If you believe in one of those, and because this has been going through millenniums and lifetimes, some people just don't like it because this has been put it in your psyche and the collective psyche and everyone in. Not that something is wrong, we're just kind of have that at least I do, towards some things rather than other things, and I think that just comes in more from the deeper experience and deeper subconscious thing that we bring out with us.
Give me an example.
Well, an example, I'm taking a person to a past life. They're somewhere in, I don't know, 12th, 13th century, and they're begging. They don't have enough food to eat. And, here comes the church and says, well, you sinner, you have to give us money. So when you die, you go to heaven and all this other stuff. But they're struggling, they don't have enough, but their kids are dying, but here they go because they're looking for redemption, and they give all their money into the church and finally dying in poverty from starvation, and their kids may be doing the same thing. Does that answer your question?
So how does that relate to now, though?
Well, it's just something that comes up, and subconsciously people don't recognize it because it's deep in your psyche. If you
Yeah.
had one of those experiences, you might not recognize it, but you just not vibe with certain things. You just, some things just put you off, and you don't know why, because they're deeper in your psyche and they're not conscious until you
Yeah.
bring them to a conscious level, and then you're like, oh, I now I have an aha moment.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
I took you out of your flow, I think.
Well, no, I mean, like, not really. I told you. I mean, listen, I'm in a pretty zenned out state today. I feel good. I
I'm
went to the
kind of the
beach
same,
yesterday.
and yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Last week and this week, it's been kind of like go go go. Not sleeping enough, not sleeping good. Catching up, feeling like I need to nap, feeling like I need more time to myself. Just not doing anything, and to the rational mind with the storytelling and all that. It's like, oh, not okay, you can't, how can you just waste time instead of being productive and doing all those other things, taking, how dare taking time to yourself, and you're like, meh, just gonna not do it. Like what we talked about earlier,
It's interesting because I still struggle with that narrative, like this idea of rest, like just doing. Even yesterday at the beach, right? This is the funniest thing. I'm laying up. It's like 5 o'clock. The wind's blowing on me. The sun has receded a little bit, and I'm watching the cloud patterns, and it was gorgeous. It was just this beautiful, tranquil experience. And I caught my mind saying, you got to start journaling. Right. And this is what I share with my clients. I'm like, that is the illusion, right? I'm at peace. And now my ego's like, you got to do something to get to
Right?
peace when I'm at
Yeah.
peace. And I'm like, this is the most hilarious thing in the world. So I just kept, but it was interesting to observe how often my ego kept coming in trying to get me
Yeah.
out of that state of relaxation to do something.
Right. Yeah, I know. And I'm glad you're recognizing that. And the more you recognize it, the more you're like, no, I don't need to do that. I'm perfectly fine right now. Like you said, I'm just relaxed. Everything is fine. I'm safe. I'm in a blissful state. Why do I need to do anything?
Yeah. Yep. A
Yeah.
100%. And you just keep coming back to that, keep coming back to that, you know? And that's
Yeah.
why, one of my clients was working on a tool to stay in stillness, and they achieved that stillness, and then says to me, well, what do I need to do now? And I said, well, nothing. The whole point of using the tool was to know peace. You've achieved that. So why do you need to do anything else? But again, our thinking mind
I know.
struggles to comprehend that,
I
which
know.
is why I will give a huge shout out to Deepak Chopra and Dr. David R. Hawkins. And I'll tell you why, guys. They're two of my favorite thought leaders around this because they blend the logical mind with the spiritual. So for me, I come from parents of academia. They needed quantifiable data, right? There's evidence based information to prove the existence of an unseen force or to have these experiences within themselves. And so both Deepak Chopra and Dr. David R. Hawkins marries the two. And you said it to me yesterday, and I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense because I resonate with that type of thought leader. I resonate with the people who get it here in their heart, but also need to be able to speak to the ego about what they're experiencing here. It's a beautiful thing.
I know, but it's okay. Like everyone has a different personality or different ego growing up, and some people are more into rational thinking. Other people are more into devotion, and there's different methods to work with that, and to get you to recognize that, and to
Yeah.
get you to that place where you're able to observe and you caught it when that thought arises like, oh, you need to be journaling now. You're like, no, I don't.
Yeah. I'm
But
like, this is great. Oh, write about it. No, no, I can sit and write for hours tomorrow if I'm called to do so, but I'm chilling right now.
and that's the other thing with the narrative going inside your head and the storytelling and all that, and we take it as like 100% true, and we believe it, and we even take it to be ourselves, and we think it's coming from ourselves. But if you
Yeah.
think you can't predict your thought, if this is yourself, then you should be able to predict yourself, but you can't. So it's not really you that's making the stories and the narratives that are going in your head. So when you recognize that, then you don't get entangled in the story too much. You just see it as a story. It comes in and it goes like, "Hey, let's have pizza now." You're like, "Nope, I'm okay, thanks."
Yep. Exactly. Well, it's so interesting because even yesterday, Nana and I canceled our show very abruptly. We looked at each other, we're like, beach? And he's like, beach? And we're like, we're going to the beach. And my ego was like, that's so unprofessional. You're building uh a base of people. And then I'm like, that is total bullshit. First off, our show is called The Bright Side Chronicles. So if we're not embodying living the bright side, then why are we doing the show in the first place? And I really, truly believe that. And secondly, what is professional? And it's so funny because I do have this conflict still within me, Yanko, because again, I was so conditioned from the time I was a little girl until my 30s that, you got to be professional. You got to look the part. You got to, have your hair done a certain way. Your tattoos can't show. You can't swear. You need to be early, and all these
Yeah, serious,
iterations.
serious, serious language. You got to be
Oh,
serious
serious
too,
language.
because
Even
serious
now,
business is happening because
yeah.
it's professional.
And so,
You got to put yourself
even
aside from
now,
the amateurs.
I catch myself all the time. It's like, oh, that's not professional. I'm like, well, who says that's professional, right? Who says? Although I will say, the reality is when you think about it, like, over the course of human history, we've created these constructs that the ego of almost everybody has subscribed to, right? So it's been like this collective story. Money being one, right? Money being valuable, your worth being wrapped up in money. Certain collectives, like based on what area of the world, region you lived in, certain cultural belief systems. So there are stronger beliefs because it is embedded not just within yourself, but within the collective as a whole. And so shedding that belief sometimes can feel harder because there's such a mass collective who hold tightly to that belief that, like, you have this like pull to be like the crab that gets sucked back into the belief. And that's where awareness comes in, because then I'm like, well, I don't have to subscribe to that unless I want to. And it never felt good to me when I was in that bull crap. So why am I going to continue to fall back into that belief that no longer serves me?
But I'm glad that more and more people are recognizing that
Yes.
because, if I'm watching some people talk about it, they recognize that money it's something we as society agree upon that has value. Otherwise, he has nothing, no value. It's just
Yeah.
paper or whatever. So more and more people are getting to recognize that, and I think that's the right way to go because that ultimately will create the change that it's going to happen down the road where you recognize that all that it's just a play, with the money. People play with the economic. Countries do different things.
Oh yeah,
All that.
I
It's like
gotta tell you, I love this whole tariff thing. I think it's hysterical. I'm like, talk about market manipulation, but it's just a game. And
I
people get
know,
so upset with me. They're
I
like,
know.
like, or I had somebody tell me, you really got to take your financial future seriously, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I don't. Because if I know that to be at peace, I'm provided for at all times, I'm whole, healed, and abundant, then why do I have to take anything seriously? In fact, I think that it's a opposite. I think we're meant to laugh at the whole situation because it's all a comedy of errors at the end of the day. I do believe Shakespeare nailed it when he said that.
To be or not to be. I know. This is so good though. But it links back to the storytelling narrative that goes inside. It's not just the story of like, oh, this happens and you're the victim, and it's kind of the same thing if you go back to that to be or not to be narrative. Um, it's kind of like that because you're like, do I need to be this or do I not be this or do I can I not be or
Yeah.
it is kind of, yeah. But as you go through different things, your consciousness have different points of view and different perspectives, and everything changes. And
Right. So,
ultimately, I think that's a good thing because you're constantly changing with your perspective and you
well,
get
that's
different.
why. That's why I
Yeah.
said to somebody earlier today, they asked me, "Who are you, Kerri? Like, who have you understood yourself to be?" And the simple answer is love, right? That I know to be true. But and then I said, well, who am I as a construct of the ego in the first place? So I don't know, and I don't have to know. And I think that is where people really struggle, because who I am right now could be very different in 2 hours, right? I could be cranky. I could be overcome with joy. I could be in deep sorrow. I don't know. But I do know that the one constant, the one pervasive is that I'm love. I come from love. And so I'm operating in truth when I allow love to dictate how I respond to any situation, which is important, which is why I'll come back to pausing. Like when you get still, even for a couple minutes through breath work, it allows you to come back to like that fundamental truth, and then you operate in the world from a place of response rather than reaction, and that reaction is just, coming from ego. It's often coming from misinformation, or, you know, just it doesn't serve you. And so it's super important for me to encourage people to pause, even for a couple minutes, because that pause has, you know, a profound impact on how you experience the world.
That's right. I mean, we talked about it before, and a lot of times at the end of the show, I encourage our viewers or audience to find out who they are really. Like, and this is a good that somebody asked you that question. Like, who are you really? Like, do you know who you are? Because you have this idea of you being somebody or something, and then you're sticking to that idea because otherwise, without it, you feel like you lost yourself. But you didn't exist in the first place. So if you get stuck in a situation when your job or other things become you, and one day you get fired or something else, then you go down in a spiral because you feel like you lost yourself or part of yourself, and then you believe that this is you for so long that then you suffer and you go into finding who you are because you thought that was you, but apparently it's not because that wasn't you in the first place. So it's all an illusion that running through our minds, and we take it and we roll with it. So yeah.
So, okay, let's for the listening audience who's like, I don't know what they're talking about. Take somebody who's unconscious completely, for the most part, right? I mean, we all have pockets of awareness. We know we all have these glimpses, but for the most part, they just operate from that conditioned, um, mechanical mind. How do they start to, and I may have a different practice than you, but how would you encourage people to start to become aware, more aware of that, um, how they operate in the world?
Well, one very simple one is ask who wants to know when that comes in, or who suffers, or if something happens and you say I suffer, what who is that suffer? Go find that. Where's this coming from? Like, where's this coming from within you? Like, where's this belief coming in? That'll take you to the belief and you recognize it. You'd be like, okay, this isn't, if this isn't me, because like, look at it this way: everyone he has an idea of who they are based on what people tell them to be, but then everyone has a some kind of idea of who you are, because through their lens you're this or that or something else. Like, in and then the more you go deeper and you find out who you are, you find that this is not me, this is not me, and this is not me. This is like one of the practices that it's been going in the East for a very long time, that says nitty nitty, not this, not that, not this. Because, and I'll give you an example. When I drive the car, I can say I'm the driver of the car, and does that make me a driver? And then I change to do something else, but I don't take it as me. I cook. Then does that make me the cook? Or if I, father my son, play with him or anything, does that make me father of my son? In that moment, Yes, but this is states that we go through, and we tend to take him and claim him for ourselves and make him part of ourselves and believe to be ourselves. But ultimately, they're not. Or the manager of the job. You have a career and you be in this and you're thinking, oh, I am this great manager and I'm managing those people, and this is something you think to be, but somebody else might see you differently and think of you as something else. So
Oh,
that's the best way.
100%. Oh my gosh. One of the reasons I got out of corporate America is I I truly believe I was a strong manager, and I knew there were people who hated me. And I was like, well, I don't feel like contending with all these perspectives anymore. Like, truth be told, like, I want to ground in who I am and be very, very clear about who I am, you know? And that way you can take me or leave me, you know? And that's okay. Not taking it personal, understanding that who I am was never meant to engage with everybody, is never meant to do life with other people. And so it's continuously learning that, or remembering that, one, I'm enough, and number two, when I know I'm enough, I attract the people who know I'm enough. And when I don't know I'm enough, I attract the people who don't know I'm enough. And so I feed the story either way. And so what story do I want to feed?
Right. And the other thing is that if you don't take that as something that is you, you don't claim it, and it's something just happens. Like, like the sun, it's coming up. You're doing something, but you're not doing it. It's something that's happening in the now, and you're in the moment, but you're enjoying the moment, and you're not running a story in your head to take you out of the moment, and then for you in the present, and there's nothing else than being in the present. There's no wrong or right. You're in the present. You're washing the dishes, and there's dishwashing going on, but you don't claim it. And you don't say, I wash the dishes, because it's part of the whole, and it's a process that it's happening, and you're just observing it. You're here now.
True story.
I hope that brings some clarity to somebody that's feeling confused about the whole thing. And please
I would
pitch in
say,
and give example if you like, if you think I haven't made it clear enough.
well, you made it clear, but I feel like it still is too obscure for a person who's, entrenched in their ego. And so for me, the way I came to awareness is through observing my body, like through feeling the sensation in my hand, right? Bringing my mind's eye, my attention to my hand. And then I realized, wow, I'm aware of the tingling. I'm aware of the movement. I'm aware of the cool breeze that goes against my skin. That was how I started to separate from that conditioned mind, you know? And that's another reason why pausing and breath work can be really helpful, because as you breathe in deeply, you're calming your nervous system. And then it gives you this ability to tap into a deeper awareness, to really ground into like peace and stillness. So
Yep. I did a breath
that
work with somebody yesterday. They were like, "Oh my god, this is better than meditation and everything else." And I said, "I
breath work.
know." Yes.
Well, it's meditation anyway. Like, meditation is a single focus. Like, so breath work, right? A lot of Eastern um practices is to focus on the pause between the exhale and the inhale, or the curve between as it's curving to do the next part. So whether it's a inhalation as it curves into the exhalation, or whether you're focused on your navel area and the rise and the fall, all of that is meditation. It's just using your breath to get there.
Or you can pause. You can focus in the space between the thoughts. That's also a practice.
Exactly, but that I find very difficult for the average person who's just starting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That to me, I think, I it's lying to me, but
Yeah, I know. You kind of zapped for a second, but keep going. I think the
yeah,
internet might have been.
it's
Yeah.
been funky dunky. Yesterday was a planetary alignment of like what, 2 or 3 planets, and I'm telling you, me working with the internet, I'm glad I didn't go live because the struggle was real. It was a strugs bus. But anyway, I struggled immensely to focus on the gap between the thought. And I do believe I probably would have found meditation or breath work much more supportive sooner had I not had that lens, had I just gone for the breath instead of. But I stuck to it because that's one thing. I make a commitment to myself and I do it. And so fortunately, but I do feel like it was done through force rather than power. And so my call to anybody is, what can you do that feels supportive, not easy, right? Because when you're learning something new, there's always an element of discomfort, but also not feeling like you are forcing it, that it's like this, like push through, because that that is feels really, really hard. And I can see why a lot of people quit meditating. I mean, the greatest story I ever hear is, oh yeah, I hear meditation is great, but I can't do it. It's not for me. I hear it all the time. I hear it from my family members all the
Me
time, and
me
I
too.
chuckle.
Me too. But that's the one of those myths and misconceptions about it because somebody talks about it, they share their experience with meditating or whatever way they're finding their happy place, um, and somebody have the expectation to do it the same way,
Yep.
and this is where it comes from. So a lot of the times when they say, well, it's not for me, I don't know about it, and I'm like, well, tell me, what did you try? Like, maybe I can help you understand what are you expecting and what's not going right, or what's going wrong, or whatever you think it's discouraging you, or because with the thinking mind, with the storyteller, you have cause and effect. You're doing something in expecting an outcome, and that's not how it works. You're not, like, when you're meditating, you're not getting an outcome, and that's disappointing to the personality or to who you
Oh
think
yeah,
you
I
are.
used to get really mad because so in the beginning, guys, this is like when I'm like, I had to be like 30, 32, right? I would meditate when I was pissed off. And I had this idea that I'm going to calm down. I'm not going to have as much of a response. And I wouldn't. I would just sit and be so pissed off. And I'm like, this is so ridiculous. Like, meditation is supposed to help me not be pissed off. And I'm really pissed off. And I just want to, like, so, obviously I learned, you want to pause when you're peaceful, because that trains you actually to, when you are pissed off, kind of regulate yourself in the moment so you don't get to the point where you're so pissed off that you can't, like, and
That's
it's
right.
it's so funny.
Because, yeah, and this is why some people struggle at the beginning. um, I didn't have as much struggle personally, but when you observing the internal conflict that's going, the narrative in your head, and you want to react, and first thing, it's to automatically be mad at yourself, because this is going, internally, instead of just accepting it as part of you. You try to fight it like anything else, and that takes you to that mad angry place. But this is part of the practice. When you see things as they are, you don't jump to react like an instinct. In, like you were saying, down the road, the more you do this practice, the more you have this space in between, being and reacting in the situation. And when that happens, you see different outcomes in a situation, instead of just grabbing the first thing that comes to mind and just reacting like with your instinct. So, yeah,
Yeah.
well said.
Yeah, I try. I don't even try. I say what comes to my heart. So
we
let's pivot, because this came
we
this
kind
is
of
something.
seem to do that kind of thing. we pat ourselves in the back.
Well, listen, I do pat myself on the back because there was a part of me who despised myself for many years. And that's the other thing. Like, guys, we operate from ego. Like, I'm sorry, but all you great enlightened people who have transcended that part, fine, great. I'm not there. And I definitely affirm myself a lot because that's a really important part of what keeps me in a space of flow. Like, yeah, that's very important to me. And it's something that I encourage all my clients to do as well.
Yep. I mean, if there's no narrative going on, you're just being. So you cannot not be in the flow. The problem
Well,
comes in when you
100%.
start, yeah, when you start doing that narrative and you spin stories and imagine different things. And I had people tell me that, oh, I get so like excited about it because I can see it inside my mind how it's gonna turn out and how everything it's gonna be. This is great for motivation, yeah, but do you really know if that's gonna happen exactly how you imagine it? Probably not. So yeah.
It's true. But I do want to pivot. And that actually this kind of comes this is a beautiful segue. I watch so many people who can affirm their family, can affirm their coworkers, can affirm their loved ones, can affirm even strangers on the street. But when it comes to offering love and self-compassion for themselves, they
Yep.
struggle
Yeah.
immensely to do so. And I think that, I want your thoughts before I share what I think. What are your thoughts about that? And what would you offer individuals to start to place that focus on themselves rather than others or in conjunction with others?
Well, first thing that comes to mind is gratitude. And the other day I had like a long day, and I was so tired, and I didn't feel my legs. And then at one point when I just lay down, I was so grateful for my legs, or for the body and the legs, for keeping me through the day. And I expressed that gratitude, and I love the legs, I love the body that gives me all those abilities. So I would say gratitude. If you start with little things that you're grateful for, grateful for the body, which you think you are, that'll help you go more and find yourself and accept yourself, love yourself for what you are, for your hairstyle, for your face, anything. You can even stop by and look at yourself in the mirror, reflect, and be grateful for you looking back at you.
Damn, I was just noticing my suntan line. And it's
Yeah,
so
there you
interesting
go.
because I have to tell you, I love my freckles. I hear people like, oh, I don't like my freckles. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're kisses from the sun. Like, I love my freckles. But anyway, getting back to that, I agree with you. I think gratitude is a beautiful practice that anybody, no matter what level of consciousness they're
Mm,
at, can lean into and experience immediate results. And for my clients, take for example weight. Particularly, and I don't know that it's a different narrative for men, but man, the pressure to look a certain way as a woman in this society is is just it is invasive and incessant and very, very toxic for a lot of people. And so, as a 45-year-old woman who's had a C section, who's had two kids, who didn't spend the first 30 years of working out, right? There's a lot of ways that I could tear myself down. Oh, my skin sags. I don't have the butt that the 20-year-old person has in the gym, whatever. And so, instead of focusing on this perceived expectation of what I need to look like in order to be beautiful, I focus on the things that I love, right? And I really lean into gratitude for my kind eyes, gratitude for my hair, gratitude for my feet because I love my feet, guys. I don't know why, but I have the prettiest cute feet. They're awesome. Um and so but I focus on the things that feel good, and that makes the things that, I would change based on what society expects me to look like, because that's like the collective idea in America, because it's different in each region of the world. Um, it makes
Well,
it feel,
collective is different. The
what's that?
collective is different. The collective is different in those regions.
Well, exactly. But
Yeah.
it makes me tap into what feels really good for me, and in that I'm peaceful, right? And so it is important to focus on the things you appreciate rather than the things you dislike, because that really causes this internal conflict and suffering, immense suffering.
I mean, everything it's relevant. Like what's good to one person or bad looking or beautiful could be something else to somebody else. And
Oh,
you can see
100%.
that through like art and, paintings and other things. And some people find something beautiful that other people say, I don't even know what this looks like, Um, so that's really like stories that we tell ourselves, mental
100%,
gymnastics.
Yanko, but that's what most people do, and so I want to, for our listening audience, give them tools to be able to focus on what feels really good, because that, again, this moment is the only moment we have. So if I'm allowing myself to feel good in this moment, I'm creating a future filled with positive moments, feeling good, feeling yummy. If I am tearing myself down in this moment, I am creating a future where I'm tearing myself down,
Right.
or I'm giving others, I'm attracting other people to tear me down. And that is where our responsibility lies to ourselves in this present moment, is what do I need to do to feel good in this moment? And give yourself permission to do that. That's why I am very passionate about cultivating joy, why Nana and I have the Bright Side Chronicles, because if I can get to a place where I'm in joy, I'm creating more moments of joy. But if I'm tearing myself down, I'm creating more moments of suffering. So another example, if an individual wants to lose weight, and for no other reason than they're unhealthy, right? The doctor said they have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, they have trouble walking, right? And they start to focus on their weight. Oh wow, I'm fat, I'm gross, I'm lazy, which we see that them do. It's very hard to build a positive momentum to make change. However, if they focus on, oh wow, I really like the way my hair looks. That feels really, really good. I like that so much that it's making me have the energy to go for a 2-minute walk. Or I really love my heart. I love the fact that my heart is beating and helping me experience this life, right? You do that, and that creates a positive momentum, which then changes your external reality. So you're not focusing on what is wrong with you, you're focusing on the things that feel really good, and thus your spirit, your internal navigation system is going to seek more of that yummy feeling. And in that yummy feeling, you start to lose weight. But you're not going to do it by tearing yourself down. And then the same as like if you're comparing yourself to others based on looks, if you're comparing your success based on another individual's success. For me, right, my most recent struggle was my best friend got certified in hypnotherapy and neurolinguistics, and I am not certified. And so it was like up, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that is the story. So I focused on all the things that I offer people, all the things I've been doing. That created a positive energy, which caused me to be able to celebrate my best friend for the amazing work that she put forth to achieve this certification. And I didn't feel that ick anymore. That's what I want our listening audience to be able to take away from this show is, what small thing can you do to feel good right now? Because in that moment, that is your power.
Right. That's a good start, though. But if you go even deeper, which you're already recognizing that, as your example at the beginning, with watching the clouds and being there and your narrative going in. Anytime any narrative comes in, even the narrative of like, what do I need to do to feel better in the next moment, then you just realize that you don't have to do anything because you're already better. There was something that made you feel that you're not better, but you are, and that's the illusion of things. So all that thing drops as soon as you recognize it. That just melts away, and you laugh at yourself. So
Oh,
yeah,
100%. And I
I
love that. But
know.
that,
I know this will be a little too much for somebody that's getting started. Like I said, when you start recognizing and doing the little changes, because the journey starts with the first step. You gotta make the first step, and then every other step after that, it's easier and easier because you're already in the journey, you're already committed. Otherwise, it just looks like this far away, impossible thing to achieve in your mind. And it's just overwhelming. You're like, nah, I'm just going to look the other way, you
yep,
know? But I'm so glad you brought it up. So thank you.
yeah. And again, for everybody, like, there's different levels. There's different, like, we all go through experiences. For many years, I found therapy to be very helpful until I didn't anymore, right? Like,
You outgrowed it. Yeah,
I
that's
outgrew
it.
therapy, and I have a very different understanding of how we can heal now. And quite frankly, I think therapy keeps people sick. I really do. But I, for years, didn't believe that. And at that time and space, it was helpful for me, right? It got me to continuing to grow on my own path to get to the place I'm at now. And so that's the thing is, all of us have our journey and there's no right or wrong. It's just where you're at and what you need to do in that moment to feel good. That's the most important thing.
Yes.
So, with that being said, what are you doing to feel good this week and weekend coming up?
Well, thanks for asking. This weekend, it's Oneness Fest. It's one of the Mind Body Spirit expos, and it's going to be in a campsite. I have their little, I'll give them a little plug, even so they're not, I'm not part of the tribe yet. I'm thinking about, joining them. So that'll be an exciting experience. They have open vendor area. Anybody in my area can check them out. It's a huge open space up there. They do campsite, allow people to come from out of state and camp on the site. They have different ice baths they're going to offer to people, different modalities. They're going to have over 100 different talks and presentations about mind, body, spirit, different things. Last year when I was there, I enjoyed cacao that was done uh, for cacao ceremonies and things, and it was really awesome. I highly recommend to anybody. So this is what I'm looking forward to. Hang out with like-minded people, drum circles, other things like that, and just feel full and refresh, and come back and start the next week with that. How about that?
I love that. That's amazing.
Yep, yep. How about you?
We shall see where the wind takes me. I am going to the beach again because there's just something so peaceful about sitting on the hot sand, listening to the waves go in and out, really focusing on that pause. I just love it. And then creating meditations for a couple clients. I always get excited to do that because I don't believe I do it. I I just allow myself to be a vessel to be moved through to create whatever it is an individual needs at that moment. And I don't know. We'll go from there. We'll see.
This is all good though, because if you know that space within you and you put it to a meditation or something else, you put that energy in, and that helps the other person go to that space when they listen to it,
Oh,
because
100%.
you take yourself in that space when you do it. At least for me, it's like when I do recordings, and I listen to them after that, I recognize that I'm already entranced, and it's just wonderful. So
Yeah.
this is
Well,
this is
you do
great.
stay in peace. And that's why even earlier today, somebody was affirming me and they were sharing, you just have this way with words and you have this way of communicating in a way that lands with my personality. And I really want people to understand it's not me and it's not Yanko. It's a collective oneness that works through
Mm.
us when we allow ourselves to set our ego aside. I really truly believe that. And so and then of course I have my clients who are like, no, 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 you need to accept this. And I'm like, okay, because that's where they're at. So I'll receive it. It's not that I want to dismiss that, but I also think it's incredibly important to bring awareness to the fact that one, we can all cultivate that wisdom. It's for all of us at any moment. It's just, are you getting still enough? Are you pausing to be able to recognize that within yourself? And then secondly, are you surrendering to it, right? Because that's the push pull. Like, we know what is gonna really nurture and support us, but it's contrary to the life that we've created or the um experience that we find ourselves stuck in. And so being able to just surrender to it and trust that what unfolds is going to be in the highest good of everybody. And when you do that, you are tapped into unlimited potential and creation with creation.
Yeah, there is deeper knowing, deeper parts of yourself that start to recognize that. And sometimes you might listen to somebody else talk, and they might say something that makes no sense to the mind, but there is a deeper knowing that just know inside to be true, in understand it. So yeah. And we might have lost you again. Let's give it a second.
Just being channeled through me, I'm sharing to them, and it's insane. It's so funny.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but we had a zap there for a second, and I was just waiting until the internet catches up.
Well, we're back and we're gonna sign off soon. So I say we just leave it with the zap and call it a day.
I love that. Yeah, go with the flow. Any thoughts? Any wishes for audience for the weekend or for the
Oh,
weeks to
just
come, or until
enjoy.
next time, until they decide to join us and find themselves in the internet, Facebook, YouTube, or whatever, watching us having conversations for no particular reason.
Just give yourself grace. Wherever you are, you're enough in this moment. And however you get there, find a way to give yourself compassion and bring yourself to joy.
Mm, I love that. I was actually thinking about like giving yourself grace, in how we should do a whole topic about giving yourself grace, and how that works.
What number is this? What number episode is this? 65?
I don't know, 68 maybe. Let me see. Yeah, 68.
Oh,
We might
whoop,
have already done it though. I don't remember, but
69 is coming up.
yes, 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 yes.
I do love me the number 69. Okay,
Uh,
anyway, I will go.
okay, all
I
right.
will talk to all of you on the flip side.
And with that, I want to leave you with the same, find who you guys are. Have a wonderful weekend or weeks to come. And again, if you're close by, come, maybe see me at the Oneness Fest and come say hello. I'll be excited to talk with you and get to know you and have a conversation.
Getting to know you, getting to know all
Or should
about
I
you.
or should I
Okay.
say getting to know me because you're me and me is you.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Bye, guys.